Good morning to you. There is a lot of stuff going on right now. Legally, the whole Illinois assault weapon gun ban stuff and everything else is going on. It looks like there might be some positive headway in a direction for Second Amendment people, for people to be able to continue to reserve that right legally. There was one judge that kind of like approved everything, and then there's two other judges that are they're going through and trying to overturn everything because it's not constitutional what's being done, and there's all kinds of stuff going on right now, and it's really hard to keep up with exactly what everything means, but it looks like it's going in a pretty positive direction. As for illegals coming into the United States, it's happening no matter what. All Texas did by shutting that border down was shove them over to Arizona and California. They're still coming in. They're still ending up in all 50 states. I mean, there was a report the other day of a lady, and it was like, I don't know if it was in not Vermont, or it was somewhere up northeast, right on the northern border, and she said we get people in here all the time, back on our property, on our trail cams and everything else. We get illegals coming in this way on the northern border. And in the last 3 months, they've had like 3,100 people identified through the northern border. And that was a sheriff up there. If you just type in, if you Google illegals northern border, something like that, and just search or refine your words that you're using, it will pop up. I brushed through the article and watched the little video that was there, and it was a lady, and she took the reporter and the video footage and stuff out to the property and was pulling the clothes and stuff that they drop all over the place, and the garbage and the trash and stuff like that. So they're not just coming in from the southern border right now. They're actually coming in from the northern border as well. We're getting hit from two different fronts right now, and people don't really realize it. There's been more Syrian people getting documented coming in, more Asian people getting documented coming in, and a heavy excuse me, in a heavy amount, which is really scary. And then you have the sheriffs that all went to their sheriff meeting and stuff like that, and then when they all came back, they had this whole information base on, yeah, there are sleeper cells, and they're not even so much sleeper cells, right here in the United States. And they're getting together. They're forming. The Venezuelan gang, more MS-13 gang, they're all growing. They're growing right now as we speak. And our government is not doing a damn thing about it. Not a single freaking thing about it. So that means when it happens, we're going to have to ourselves. So if y'all ain't going out to the gun range and practicing, making sure you're up on your supplies and stuff like that, you're wrong. You're just dead wrong. The best thing for you to do right now is to try to pack away as much non-perishable goods as possible that you can sustain keeping your family somewhat healthy, and some Freedom Seed stuff. Make sure you got some cleaning supplies for the device using the Freedom Seeds, and making sure you're up on knowing how to use it. Go over your family's SOP. If you don't have a family standard operating procedure, then you need to have an SOP. A worst case scenario, a best case scenario, I would have a maybe like a 2 to 3 day bag out and back. I would have a in bag in case you can't get to stuff in your home or something like that, and you're stuck in one place, you're locked in a room or something, or whatever it may be. I would have an in bag, things for an emergency. My main bag that I carry every single day has trauma. That's what my bag is. It's about $1,000 plus worth of trauma stuff, high-end tourniquets, blood clotting stuff, patches and stuff like that. Where I see a lot of accidents. I've talked to you guys on some of my stories here on the channel. I see a lot of accidents. I drive the highway a lot every day. I see a lot of crazy stuff happen whenever, not every day drive the highway. I did drive the highway every day. But I see a lot of accidents. I've responded to a lot of accidents and helped people, stabilize people until paramedics and stuff get there. I pulled multiple people out of accidents. So my calling is on the medical side, keeping people alive, keeping them from bleeding out and stuff like that. And I don't freeze up in those moments. So my go bag, or my bag, actually it's not my go bag, it's my bag that I carry every single day for emergency use, has like 10 different tourniquets in it. It has Israeli bandages, sunken chest wound patches. It has bandages, shears and stuff like that. It is full of trauma stuff where you would need to seal something up, stop somebody from bleeding, or keep them alive. Just because in my life in general, I've encountered a lot of situations where I've had to help people that were in dire need and they were about to lose their life. My first day driving down to the military, down by Effingham, Illinois, this was in 2007. There was a car that crossed over the big, giant intersect, the median, went all the way through the grass, all the way to the other side of the highway, which was a massive, massive area to cross. And the vehicle came up on the embankment and flipped sideways and clipped a Lincoln right by the front wheels. Spun the car around, went careening down the interstate. The truck ended up on its side, and I pulled all those people out of the vehicle. And one of them, her arm was bleeding. She was gushing blood. It was an old lady, probably 70, 80 years old. And I took a belt off of a guy, and I said, "Hey, give me your belt, give me your belt." And I took it off, and I pulled her arm as much as I could. I just pulled it until the blood stopped, and then I just wrapped it, and wrapped it, and wrapped it, and then I kind of pulled the belt back through, and it held enough to stop the blood from coming out until the paramedics got there. And then they took my story and stuff like that and everything that happened. It was I was the first responder on the scene, and then from there it was a sergeant coming from Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Or yeah, he was going Fort Campbell. He was headed back up to Wisconsin to go see his family, and me and him assessed the scene. I was there for the first couple minutes by myself, and then after that I pulled the rest of the people out of the other vehicle. It was turned over on its side. I had to basically take my top off and lay it across the window threshold, and any kind of clothing or towels or anything that people could that gathered nearby, I laid it over the back window and pulled the man out of the back window. But the woman, she couldn't go that way, so I had to help get her to stand up inside the truck while it was flipped over at its side, like stand on the window that's on the ground, it's busted out. She had to stand on that and then try to lift her leg up, and then I had to pull her up and over the top of the truck. But I respond to stuff like this. I react accordingly. I'm just giving you guys a scenario on how rough it can be. And if I have these items with me ahead of time, I can possibly save somebody's life. And it's good for emergency situations to be able to do this. There was an incident on 294. Where, no, it wasn't 294. It was 55. 55 going north, right outside of Bolingbrook. There was a drunk driver, white dude that was just kind of like drunk, not paying attention on his cell phone a lot, in and out of lanes. He wasn't paying attention to the car that was up on the shoulder, and there was a car broke down already, and he ran right into the back of it. And in front of that car was another car. The car that was in front was actually broke down. That was the sister's car, and the brothers had come out to grab the sister and figure out what they needed to do to change the tire. Well, while they were trying to get everything together to change the tire, drunk driver comes out of nowhere and smacks the back of the brother's car that's behind her car. Well, she's by the door, and the door's open, flings her over the median. The brothers are freaking out. She's got blood coming out of her nose and stuff like that. And I hurry up. So I watched the whole thing happen. He just flew by us like we were just sitting still. It just totaled his car. He's bleeding out of his nose and his mouth and everything else. I mean, the dude was messed up, and he could barely stand up. When I pulled up, I jumped out of the car, jumped over the median, and it was a black family. And I'm sure it was a little bit of a culture shock or something like that, because they're not used to seeing this interaction in public. Well, I slid up underneath the lady's head, and I put my knees together, and I let her head rest in between my knees, and I started rubbing her chest in between her collarbone, trying to stimulate her, trying to figure out why I'm not getting any breath. And then I started rubbing at the bottom of the diaphragm, and then I started pushing on her chest a little bit, like I was doing a lighter CPR, and she started breathing a little bit. And she started getting some instead of like a purplish black color, her color started coming back to normal. And I kept rubbing her diaphragm real hard and pushing with my fingertips. And I would pick her head up every once in a while, kind of slide her back to me, because I was rubbing really hard. I was trying to keep her stimulated. And I was able to keep her aware and awake enough until the paramedics got there to tote her off. And I don't know what happened to her after that. I don't know if she made it or not, but there was probably some internal issues going on there. I mean, they knocked the air out of her and everything. But I respond to this type of stuff accordingly. I don't freeze up with blood and guts and stuff like that. It's lost limbs. That stuff to me is a challenge to get somebody into a position where they're healthy. And I think of those moments and situations in life as a guide stone that the Lord has put in my hands to move forward and help other people. And there's many more incidents like that. There was a guy here illegally down in when I lived down in Pocahontas, Arkansas. He was out in Jonesboro, and we were leaving the club. I left the club about an hour early, and I'm on these back roads trying to make my way back to where was I living at the time? I was living in Beecher, Arkansas at the time, and I was trying to make my way through all the back dark roads there. I wasn't drunk or anything. I had stopped drinking about an hour before I left, and I was pounding water and Diet Coke. And I'll make it down those side roads, and as I'm coming through these winding roads and stuff like that, I see a vehicle turned over on its side, and there's a man that's running down the hill. And I jump down there with the guy in the ditch, and there's a car with flashing lights. There's a lady crying on the phone trying to talk to 911. I jump down inside the ditch to see if I see anybody. I don't see anybody down in the ditch, and then the truck is laying sideways. And on top of the truck is the man trying to look down inside the door. He don't see nobody, and he says, "I don't think anybody's here." Did the guy run after he got into a crash? So I jump up on the bottom of the vehicle. It's flipped up on its side, but kind of more bottom up than anything. So I jump on it. The exhaust is still hot. Pull myself to the other side, and I'm trying to look down inside the window the best I can. And I was like, "Man, I see a face right there, man." So I jumped back off the bottom of it, and the police are trying to get the location. And I said, "Hey, look, we're 1 mile past. It's called Dead Man's Curve." And as soon as I said Dead Man's Curve, she was like, "Oh, I know where you're at." I said, "Not even 1 mile past that on the right. It's the first driveway that's coming down from the property in the woods and stuff right there. And the owner of the property's down here with us. And that's where we're at." She says, "Okay, I got help on the way." And the dude, I jumped down in the ditch, and I'm able to look in his face. I'm looking in the truck because it's kind of tilted. The truck is tilted where normal's this way. Well, the truck is all the way over where the window's down, and the bottom is kind of almost belly up. And I'm in the ditch looking at the guy's face, and I'm like, "Hey, are you okay? Are you breathing?" And I'm trying to reach through the busted glass, the front windshield. His hand is pushed through this gaping hole in the front windshield, and his hand is split open, and he's got blood coming down his hand, and his face looks real yellow and clammy. And anyway, I stabilized this guy enough. I'm smacking the shit out of him in his face. He's Jose De La Rose Macia is his name. Jose, I still remember to this day. I said, "Que amo?" And he said, "Jose." And I said, "¿Cuántos años tienes?" And then he says, 30, 30, 30. And I said, "Mucho cervezas, poquito, or pequeño, or mucho?" And he said, mucho cervezas." And I say, "Que trabajo?" Like, what work or whatever. What work do you do? My Spanish is broken, but he understood what I was saying. And he said, "Construction, concrete, mi jefe, troca, driving." And I'm like, "Oh, shit." So he's here doing construction in Arkansas, in Jonesboro, Arkansas, for a construction company. This is his boss's classic Ford truck. He's out drinking and driving and stuff like that. Totals the truck out, flips it upside down, and this dude's dying. And the man up on the road comes down in the ditch with the phone, and she's like, "Keep him awake, keep him awake." And I was able to keep him awake until the sheriff department got there, the fire department got there, and then right down the road, about a half mile to a mile down the road, there was an open field. They air vac him out, and he actually made it. But I've been involved in situations like this for a long time, so that's why it's important to have the right tools, the knowledge, sometimes you have to do things that are just kind of against the grain, that don't make sense. I was smacking the crap out of this guy's face trying to keep him awake because he kept trying to pass out, and dispatch was like, "Do not let him go to sleep. Do not let him go to sleep." So I'm like rubbing this guy's face. I'm like grabbing his collarbone, kind of trying to purposely create some kind of stimulation somewhere, pain or whatever, just to keep him awake. And I smacked the shit out of his face, and he woke up. He kind of came out of it a little bit, and then I kept talking to him, and then he would start to drift off again, and the blood in his hand kind of stopped coming out, and then it was just it was crazy. And then the sheriff, when he got there, he took the story and everything like that, and he was like, this is common in this curve right here. It's common. So this is nothing new. Thanks for your story. You're good to go. Take off. Yeah. To get that guy out of there, they had to use the jaws of life to cut the steering wheel away from the guy's body, because they had pressed in the firewall and pushed the steering wheel into his sternum and was pinning him in the vehicle. They had to cut the steering wheel out. I helped them. I actually jumped on the bottom of the vehicle, showed them on that particular vehicle how to they were trying to cut the steering wheel down at the firewall, like closer to, like away from his chest, to stay away from his chest so they didn't damage or hurt him. They were trying to cut it underneath the dash, and I said, that's probably not a good idea, because there's probably there's two anchor points up there. You're going to have to get closer to him, like out by the dash face where the steering wheel is. And the fireman was like, okay, that's what I'll do then. And he moved further out and was just being very careful with the mini jaws of life and cut the steering wheel out of there. And the dude slid out of the busted bottom window onto the gurney, and they pulled him right out of the ditch. But it's being prepared for things, responding accordingly, not freezing up, understanding your situation, situational awareness, and being ready for extreme severe situations. That's why my bag is basically a trauma bag. Be ready. Be prepared. There's too many reports of danger from all angles now. That's all I can say. It's enough about politics. It's not a left versus right thing. Our government has fallen. Be prepared. Look, I love you guys. Take care. Have a great weekend. Be safe. If you can't get out to some Army surplus stores and maybe look into some possible gas masks or some kind of like medical stuff that you can put together, I would if you can. These are some important things. I would think more medical type equipment, stuff that people lack. Make sure that you have a bag with some extra dry clothes, some like a poncho and stuff in it, some food, some like MRE type food for a couple days, maybe a couple straws that are like the life straws that you can filter out like nasty water so you don't get sick, in case you're in an area where you got to drink some water that's from a stream and you don't know what's there. Maybe some small cooking utensils and stuff. I have that in the bottom of my trauma bag. I have like a little pot and pan set up and stuff down there, and a little burner in case I need to cook some food or something like that, if I'm ever out and about or I'm moving. But maybe one day we'll do a trauma. I'll show you my trauma bag if that's something you guys are interested in. I'll show you what I got. It's just basics. It's heavy on trauma, but basics on things that I may end up running out. Like I run into when I'm gone. Anyhow, let me know. Let me know what you guys want. Have a great weekend. Love y'all. Be blessed. As a bonus to this video, it was shared with me before I could get done editing this that El Salvador's president has a message. And it's do something before the water boils. Sometimes when it boils, it's too late, and it could take way too long to recover from what's about to happen. He talks about the lives that were lost trying to gain back El Salvador. He tries to talk about how all the people died in 2 different wars in 50 years trying to get their country back. And that same type of sentiment, picture-driven direction is exactly what the United States is going through right now. And the people have to react. I'll post the link down below.